$47,000 in debt, student loans, credit cards, a car loan, medical debt. All of it added up to a number that felt impossible. I looked at that number and I felt sick. Not because it was the worst debt situation I'd ever heard of, but because it was mine, and I had no idea how I was going to get out from under it. That was 18 months ago. Today I'm debt-free. All $47,000 gone. Not through luck, not through a windfall, not through earning significantly more money or inheriting something. I paid it off through a specific strategy that I'm going to walk you through today. Not because the strategy is complicated. It's actually simple, but simple is not the same as easy, and understanding the difference is what changes everything. The starting point. What 47,000 actually meant. Let me break down what I was dealing with. Student loans, $23,000 at 5.5% interest. Monthly payment, $240. Credit cards, $12,000 spread across 4 cards at average 18% interest. Minimum payments, $300 monthly. Car loan, $8,000 at 6% interest. Monthly payment, $180. Medical debt, $4,000 mostly unpaid sitting with collections agencies. Total monthly debt payments, $720 before taxes, before rent, before food, before anything else. My income at the time, $4,000 monthly after taxes. So debt payments were consuming 18% of my gross income just to stay on top of the minimum payments. That didn't include actually paying them down. I was stuck. And I knew that at minimum payments, I'd be paying this debt for the next 10 to 15 years. That's when I made a decision. I'm not living like this for 10 more years. The strategy, the debt snowball with a twist. I didn't invent a new strategy. I took the debt snowball method and I combined it with income increase. The debt snowball is simple. Pay off debts from smallest to largest, regardless of interest rate. As you pay off one debt, you take that payment and apply it to the next smallest debt. But I added something critical. I didn't just use existing income. I created additional income. I started a freelance side business. Writing, editing, whatever I could do in spare time. Month 1, I made $1,000 extra. Went straight to debt. Month 2, I made $1,200 extra. Went straight to debt. Over 18 months, I made approximately $22,000 in additional income from side work. That was the foundation. I paid my debt payments from my regular salary. I paid the principal down with the side income. The specific execution, how it actually worked month by month. Month 1, paid $720 in minimum payments. I made $1,000 extra from side work. That $1,000 went to the smallest debt, the medical debt. Paid off completely. Debt remaining, $43,000. Month 2, $720 in minimums. $1,200 from side work. Applied to smallest debt, a credit card. Paid off. Debt remaining, $39,000. Here's what was happening psychologically. I was seeing complete debt payoff. Not just payment reduction. Complete elimination. Month 4, paid off all the credit cards. $5,500 in credit card debt completely gone. Total debt remaining, $37,000. At this point, I eliminated the credit card minimum payments. That $300 that was going to credit cards, I applied to the car loan. New monthly payment allocation, $240 to student loans, $480 to car loan, $720 total from regular income, plus whatever I made from side work going straight to principal. The income piece that actually made it possible. Here's what I need to be clear about. I couldn't have done this on my regular income alone. $720 monthly in debt payments meant I could maybe throw an additional $200 to $300 at principal if I cut all discretionary spending. That would have taken 50+ months to pay off. The side income, roughly $1,200 monthly average, is what compressed the timeline from 5 years to 18 months. This is critical. If you want to pay off significant debt quickly, you need additional income. Cutting expenses alone is not enough. I cut expenses too. I stopped eating out, I canceled subscriptions. I was living on approximately $2,000 monthly, but that wasn't what paid off the debt. The $22,000 from side work is what paid off the debt. The psychological strategy that prevented quit. Here's the thing nobody talks about: paying off debt is psychologically hard. Every dollar that goes to debt is a dollar you're not spending on yourself. Every month you're working that side job is a month you're not relaxing. At month 3, I was exhausted. The side work was cutting into sleep. The sacrifice was real. That's when the strategy of complete payoff became critical. I wasn't just reducing debt. I was eliminating specific debts completely. When that credit card hit zero, I felt something shift. Not just financially, psychologically. I had beaten one creditor completely. That win gave me momentum to keep going. If I'd been trying to reduce all debts proportionally, every month would show progress, but no completion. That's demoralizing. The debt snowball strategy works because it creates psychological wins, complete victories. Debt's gone. That feeling of victory is what keeps you going when the sacrifice gets hard. The psychological strategy that prevented quit. Here's the thing nobody talks about: paying off debt is psychologically hard. Every dollar that goes to debt is a dollar you're not spending on yourself. Every month you're working that side job is a month you're not relaxing. At month 3, I was exhausted. The side work was cutting into sleep. The sacrifice was real. That's when the strategy of complete payoff became critical. I wasn't just reducing debt. I was eliminating specific debts completely. When that credit card hit zero, I felt something shift. Not just financially, psychologically. I had beaten one creditor completely. That win gave me momentum to keep going. If I'd been trying to reduce all debts proportionally, every month would show progress, but no completion. That's demoralizing. The debt snowball strategy works because it creates psychological wins, complete victories. Debt's gone. That feeling of victory is what keeps you going when the sacrifice gets hard. What I cut and why it mattered. People ask, what did you sacrifice? Dining out dropped from 200 to 0. Learned to cook. Entertainment dropped from $100 to $15 monthly. Used free entertainment mostly. Shopping went from $50 monthly discretionary to almost zero. Subscriptions canceled everything except internet and phone. Travel took no vacations. $0. Car kept the beat-up car I had. Didn't upgrade. Housing lived with a roommate to keep rent low. Paid $650 monthly. Total monthly spending $2,000, including debt payments. This doesn't sound fun, and honestly, it wasn't. But it was 18 months, not forever. I told myself, I can do anything for 18 months. That framing mattered. It wasn't, I'm never eating out again. It was, for the next 18 months, I'm not eating out. What changed when the debt was gone? Month 18, last payment processed. Zero debt. The feeling was different than I expected. Not euphoria, relief. For the first time in my adult life, I didn't owe anyone anything. But the bigger change was what opened up financially. That $720 monthly that was going to debt payments, it didn't disappear. It became available for building wealth. I took that $720 and I split it. $300 to emergency fund, $400 to investment accounts. Suddenly, I was building wealth instead of servicing debt. The direction of my financial life changed completely. The money I'd been throwing at creditors was now compounding in investment accounts. The mistakes I made that slowed me down. I want to be honest about where I could have done better. Month 1 through 6, I made mistakes in how I structured the debt payoff. I paid minimums on high-interest credit cards while attacking low-interest medical debt. Interest rate focused would have been faster. Months 7 through 12, I started a side business that was inefficient. I could have chosen a higher-paying gig work instead of low-paying freelance. That cost me approximately $3,000 in potential income. Month 13 onward, I let myself relax, spending a little bit. Not dramatically, but enough that I wasn't redirecting every available dollar. If I'd optimized better, I probably could have done it in 15 months instead of 18. But the core strategy, regular debt payments plus significant additional income directed at principal, that part was sound. What actually matters about this story? The reason I'm sharing this is not to brag. It's to show that aggressive debt payoff is possible. Most people think debt payoff takes years. It can, if you use minimum payments and don't add extra income. But if you can add income through side work, a second job, selling things, anything, the timeline compresses dramatically. $47,000 in 18 months? Sounds impossible until you break it down. $22,000 from side income, plus regular debt payments covering minimums, plus expense cuts, eliminating waste. That's not impossible. That's actually very achievable if you're willing to work and sacrifice for a defined period. The key is making it time limited. Not, I'm going to sacrifice forever, but I'm going to do this for 18 months, and then my life changes. That's what made it sustainable. I could see the finish line. $47,000 in debt felt permanent. 18 months of focused effort made it gone. Not through magic, not through luck, through, first, creating additional income specifically for debt payoff. Second, directing that income straight to principal, to lifestyle. Third, cutting expenses to the minimum to maximize what was available. Fourth, using the debt snowball method to create psychological momentum. Fifth, treating it as temporary sacrifice, not permanent deprivation. If you're in debt and it feels permanent, know that it's not. Aggressive payoff is possible. It requires sacrifice. It requires additional income. It requires focus, but it's possible. And when you're on the other side, when you don't owe anyone anything, that's when your financial life actually begins. Everything I'm building now started the day that debt was gone. That's the game changer.